And we are live. It is Wednesday and it's 8 o'clock and it's spiritual talk time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Guess what? I'm on my own. Poor old Paul has come down ill, everyone. But we all do wish him well. It's not COVID this time. So poor chap. We do wish him well. Must be all those late nights, I reckon. Hi, Lou. Hi, Holly. And hi, Heather. Thanks for joining us so far. And Karen. And just so everyone knows, we've got a lovely new guest. Well, not new, actually. He's been on the show before, quite a while ago now. It's probably near enough a year ago. Time flies when you're having fun. Hi, Sean. Hi, Sharon. And we're going to bring him on any minute now. So, hi, Nick, Reverend Nick. Welcome.
Hey.
Hi, Nick.
Now there's a welcome and intro. How you doing, Squire?
I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
Yes, very, very good. Hello, everyone at home watching. And we, of course, send healing thoughts and not Mickey takings to poor old Paul. Much anyway. But no, it's really great to be back. There's been a lot of water flown under the bridge, a lot of time passed, and a lot of things have happened since we last obviously had our chats and speakings. But yeah, it's great to be back. It's always nice to be invited back for a second time, not to apologize for the first.
You're very welcome. And it's been a while.
Yeah,
I said a moment ago, it's roughly about a year ago. It might even be less than that. But if any of the viewers have seen the previous episode with Nick in the past, it was very, very informative. And the amount of good work that you do, not only in your own unique way, but with the world of spirit as well, it's just humbling, to be fair. If anyone is interested, there is details across the banner at the bottom of the screen in relation to what you do and how to contact you as well. And also, if you would be so kind, Nick, to pick a lovely name off our comments list, because they do get a free reading, free 30-minute reading as well by either Paul or myself. So that would be fantastic. Paul is actually working in the background, everyone. So he's still here. He's not actually completely absent, but he is in the background still as well. So that's great. So Nick, I understand you've got a few things to share with us tonight. And how's everything been going? Are you still doing the same kind of work, or?
Basically, yeah, the work never changes other than when they upstairs decide that the work is going to change. Everything that I'm doing is pretty much as it was when we last spoke, probably a little bit more so now. There's certainly been a lot going on. But I'm no longer part of the New Christian Spiritualist Society. I'm now part of the Independent Spiritualists Alliance, okay. Which was formed at the beginning of the year. Planned to be formed at the beginning of the year, and I think we started probably about 2-3 months ago, something like that. Yeah, with work at the moment as well, my day job, I'm working 40 miles away from home. So asking me,
Where's home? Where's your home?
Oh, sorry, Littleport. So I live in Littleport, which is about 4 miles north of Ely, which is 15 miles north of Cambridge. And I'm currently working in Peterborough, which is 40 miles away. So I don't even know what day of the week it is, let alone what month it is. But it's all good fun, and it's all about getting to meet different people, getting to see different places. The traveling that I've been doing with my other job, obviously, has really opened my eyes to the big, wide, ugly world out there. Which is why I'm working on a few things at the moment to progress myself and my development. I did promise the congregation at Littleport that I would tell them what the secret is tomorrow night at the service, which we run on Facebook and YouTube from 7:40. So if you want to see what the big secret is, you, young man, can either ask Paul or me at the end of the service, because we've been discussing it. But everyone, if you want to hear what's going on, tune in tomorrow night on Facebook and YouTube, because it's a huge personal journey that I'm about to embark upon, which all ties in very much with the work that I've been doing with the Independent Spiritualist Alliance. It's a group of mediums and ministers who've come together in common cause and intent, wanting to allow people to express their spiritualism and their spirituality with an openness and freedom. Hence the name Independent. You know, just because I'm a Christian spiritualist, it doesn't mean to say that I wouldn't have a lot to talk about with a spiritualist, a Muslim spiritualist, Hindu spiritualist, or anyone without the word spiritualist at all. Because at the end of the day, we all know, and I'm sure everyone watching who's had any involvement with spiritualism knows, that the relationship with spirit is a very personal one.
Absolutely, yeah.
So whenever anyone asks me how many different religions are there in the world right now, I say just shy of 8 billion, because that's how many people there are on the planet. And every religion is an individual relationship, I believe. And my job is never to tell people what that relationship should be. My job is just to help people find that relationship if they need it, and give guidance and support, but never tell anybody exactly what to believe, because it is a very personal experience. And we know that as mediums, when we go around and we listen to other mediums work and they say things that are slightly different or work in a slightly different way, because it's all this personal relationship. And I found that my personal relationship with spirit has changed dramatically since we last spoke.
How's it changed for you then, Nick, since we last spoke?
I think when we last spoke, I obviously just lost my dad to spirit. I was still very fragile and unsure of myself. Not that anybody who ever listens to me would probably believe that, because we all know I'm a bit gobby. But I was fragile and unsure and uncertain. And also in my whole life, there was just this level of uncertainty. And things have happened and progressed over the last few months where I've been getting the same message from every single medium that I bump into. And they've even given timelines and dates. And interestingly enough, the timelines tie in with what my big announcement is tomorrow. And it's all really strengthened my resolve as an individual, my courage as an individual, but also my passion and my drive as a medium and a servant of spirit. I've never been shy about saying what I think and what I feel. And I've never been shy of defending it. But that internal battle that goes on within all of ourselves, people think that just because we're mediums, we have an instant online tap to the Great Spirit and everything is always all right and going to be all right. And we always get the answers we need. You and I and anyone who's watching that's been in any form of development will know that's just simply not true. Exactly. And in actual fact, it's harder to get a message for ourselves because we interfere with it, we get involved with it. But that shouldn't put people off, because you can still get that support and guidance in ways that are often amazing and stunning, quite frequently brutal in actual fact, because certainly for me, I do need a size 9 boot, size 9 and 8 lace holes up the rear end from time to time to keep me going. No, I said rear end because we're before 9 o'clock, of course, with the watershed there, Paul. I'm very self-controlled now as well. But so, you know, it's been one heck of a journey, really, and a lot in my personal and spiritual world has changed. People have come into the church and come into my path. People have moved on and I've moved on, but the goal, the mission is still the same. And we all share that mission who say we work for spirit, and that's to help people to prove life eternal, to bring that message of unconditional love and support and try and get the world to realize that we're all one.
That's it. Absolutely. All part of the same source, aren't we, really?
Exactly. So it's a hell of a job on me hands, but hey, you know, got to do something to keep myself occupied.
So would you say that there's a team of you that work under the same sort of banner or same kind of understanding within your unique facility where you're based?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you look at Little Port Village Hall as an individual, independent spiritualist church, we all have the same ideas, we all have the same thoughts, not absolutely identical. We've got our own little quirks and differences that guide openness and make sure that we're not restricting ourselves, but we've all got the same kind of yin that we want Little Port to keep open and keep running. And you know, we've got lots of wonderful new faces and some young blood as well. I have added them to your group, obviously. But you know, we've got young blood, we've got new blood, we've got blood that's been there since the dawn of time. But we all share the same passion for upliftment, laughter, love, and spirit contact. And at the end of the day, I think it's easy to get distracted from that with political machinations and the big message. But that's what the Independent Spiritualists Alliance is for, to help facilitate that big message without it interfering with the individuality of a single spiritualist or a single group or church or center. The idea is that we all came to, I mean, me and the Council of Five, the Advisory Council, I call them, of bishops, that they're all very unique and very specialized in their own way, but they've all got a rottenly awful sense of humor. They're all hysterical. They're a good laugh. They're kind, compassionate, funny, witty, but they each have their own driving goal and ambition, and they each have their own unique part that they bring to what it is that we're trying to achieve. And of course, that always comes back. Every single time, everything always comes back to the analogy I use for the Great Spirit and what we are. As the Great Spirit is a big picture.
Yeah.
And we are a jigsaw puzzle of that big picture, broken down into tiny little pieces to examine itself and understand itself, but then reconnect in the right place at the right time with the right people in order to rebuild that big picture. But you and I, but I'm sure you've done a jigsaw puzzle before. Yeah. You see the picture, but then when you finish the jigsaw puzzle, you know that picture so much better, so much more intimately, with so much more detail that you didn't first notice when you took a look at that big picture. Because I've always found that when you look at the big picture, as everyone always advises, you miss the details, you miss the smaller, finer points, and that's really bad. You should really always notice the finer points. And yes, it is a green screen because my bedroom's a mess. I will apologize. The green halo, it's not spirit.
Yeah, and it's just a backdrop, so there's no problems with our end. It's just to do with that green screen that you've got.
My lighting is terrible. Look, there you go. There you go. Look, there you go. I will reveal that I'm not actually in Little Port Village Hall surrounded by lots of orbs, but you know, will be soon.
Yeah, quickly. There's an understanding that Little Port Village Hall has a Mind, Body and Soul on the 31st of July, running on the ticker below.
Yes.
And what is that? Something new that you've created just lately, or this is an ongoing?
We did one once before, long ago, before the pandemic, and it was brilliant. It was wonderful, and then everything kind of like dropped and slapped.
Yeah.
So it's the first opportunity, but to say that it is bigger and bolder and, you know, fuller, I've actually literally had to go in to measure the hall to make sure that there are there is enough space for people to actually have their tables and their areas to work in. The Little Port Village Hall is great. I mean, this is the back. This is the view you see as you walk in through the door. This is the stage. So we'll be keeping the curtains closed, and there's a door at the back of the stage where we'll be using that as one section to be used for gong healing therapy. Oh, there's another room that we'll be using for the drumming. There's along the sides here of the building, there's wings that are divided by pillars, and we'll be dividing those into different sections, and then there'll be tables and everything all around. I think we've got about 4 or 5 mediums working. As I said, we've got the gong, we've got the drums, we've got anyone who has seen Little Port will know that our Hannah does encaustic art, and it's like looking at that wonderful cloth that you've got hanging up. Every time you look at a different angle, you see something new. Yeah, right. And this encaustic art she does is absolutely wonderful. She'll be selling that to raise money for the church. There's just huge lists of things going on that we will be having a poster revealed soon, because now we're under 2 months. We'll be starting advertising soon, but it's absolutely manic. I've left the team to it. That they just do we do this? Can we do this? Should we do this? And I'm like, just go for it. So our medium secretary, Mum, and Sam and Mandy and everything, they're all busy.
Would you say all money goes to the actual?
Absolutely. The Mind Body Spirit is created by the church for the church, and will be to help keep the doors open, to keep the live feed running on a Thursday night, which is actually really cheap, to be fair. But yeah, to keeping the doors open is always the #1 priority, and that is what the MBS is for. It's quite exciting, actually. It's been a while since we've had one.
Okay. Just before we go on, I'm sure there's lots of different things that you've got in store to share with us tonight. But I would like to take questions from people tonight as well, to fire their particular questions to you, Nick, as well. And I'm sure there's some already coming in already. Okay, I know Carol had one earlier on. Just go through the list there. Okay, there's quite a few on here. Okay, we've got this one here from Carol. How did your congregation take to you leaving and setting up a new group?
Better than I expected, actually. It was all a very personal situation for me as to the reason why I left. My personal feelings and my drives and my directions, and sometimes you just got to go with your heart. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, right, the first thing I've got to do is have a conversation with all of the regulars.
Yeah.
And everyone was so positive. Everyone was so up for it. And what can we do to help? What can we do to make it happen? What can we do to make it work? We'll be your first members. We'll support whatever it is that you think will work. And it was extremely humbling, actually, that a situation that I'd been thinking about, and a direction that I'd been thinking about, and a conversation that I'd been having with Spirit, most importantly, for a number of months, had suddenly had this springboard. And they were absolutely stunning. They were absolutely brilliant, and I had so much support. And to be fair, those that I left behind it was the NCS, but now it's the NSS. They've taken out Christian. They've been wonderful too. I'm still in touch. We're still friends. Constant comments coming through from various different members. It's not like I've left behind spiritualism after all. It's just that the direction that I want to help people has changed. And obviously with the five bishops coming on board, they certainly are helpful as well. So we've got a very simple structure. Because I'll be quite honest, the only struggle I ever did have with being a member of the NCSS is that I could never remember my title. But don't tell anyone I said that, eh? But no. So we've gone a bit more basic and simple. So you will have bishops, ministers, and you will have deacons, and then obviously trainees.
Right.
And the advisory council, which kind of like administrates, that's the council of 5. I'm just literally a chairman, for want of a better term, a chairperson. So I facilitate, I communicate, and I get the deciding vote if there's a split. But there never will be a split, because I was very specific to make sure that there were 5 bishops. So it keeps me out of the political side, and I can be there to guide and advise and direct and put in effort, obviously. And then, you know, filtered down from there. And it's still new, it's still developing, but lots of things coming up over the next few months with that as well.
Sounds like a lot of work, to be honest. How you know what you put into it, and you only get out what you put into it, as it's
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've got another question here for you, Nick, from Karen Moulton. Are you pleased with how your journey started this year, and has it developed as you have planned?
Right. Am I pleased? Yes. Has it developed as I planned? Absolutely not. And this is the thing, you know, when it came to the final decision, the timing, when it came to setting up the new group, when it came to doing what I'm doing personally within the movement as an individual, none of it was actually planned. None of it has turned out exactly how I have expected. But then sometimes I think, is that because I don't expect much? You know, I just go with the flow. I'm like a leaf cast upon the flow of the river, floating down and seeing where it takes me. The truth is, it is absolutely a lot about trust.
Surrender into spirit, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I'm very happy with how things have changed. I'm a lot more comfortable, as I said earlier, with myself as an individual. I'm a lot more settled. Is it how I expected? Has it actually happened the way I planned it? No, because I didn't plan it. It just, you get these nudges, and it's up to you whether you take those nudges. But I have the trust in spirit and those that have been helping me for a number of years. In actual fact, since the age of around about 5, but I started developing at the age of 18. It's all snowballed, and there, you know, Gordon, my guide, and those that work in the group, and obviously my family and friends that are up there.
Yeah.
They're all very strong sounding boards. My dad has been an absolute champion of spiritualism in his time upstairs, considering his main job was making the tea. You know, he's certainly upgraded himself over the last year and a bit, and works very, very hard to help the church, and it's exciting, I will say that.
Absolutely fantastic. Another one, we've got one from Carol Turner. Question here: what age were you when you realized that you were able to talk to spirit? She's put spirits, but as we know, as collective as well as individually as well. Yeah. How did it all go?
Right. So I used to get beaten up for being the weird kid. Now who's laughing? You know, it was strange. I used to see people walking around the infant school. I was in nursery, and there was this man with a hood walked through the wall, and I told him off for walking through the wall because he couldn't see who was the other side and he might bump into him, because I didn't understand. And I'm sure my mother, if she's watching, will be screaming out "Supersonic Sonar Radar King of Space," which was my self-imposed nickname as a 5 or 6 year old.
That's a mouthful.
Well, you know, everything I get involved with, I always end up with that. But it was really, really strange, because when I look back at the description of who he was as a character, He came from a bright place of light, and one day he would return there. I was like 5 years old. I was running around pretending to be an aeroplane one minute and supersonic sonar radar the next. And that progressed and got stronger and stronger. But then obviously the bullying and the beatings came along, and I withdrew into myself an awful lot. Then when I was 14, I had a massive nervous breakdown. I don't mind admitting it. I saw a TV program that scared the living daylights out of me, and no, it wasn't the Teletubbies. I was too young for that. I saw this program, and it freaked me completely. I was actually talking about it the other day to Mum. Even to this day, like 30 years later, I still struggle with being understairs because of this program. You know, I could never have played Harry Potter.
It wasn't a horror film.
No, it wasn't a horror film at all. It was a fiction, but it was based on some facts that I managed to find out about. But it was a Halloween thing where they'd got all these famous TV presenters going around this house that was purportedly haunted.
Yeah.
And throughout the program, it progressively got worse until the very end. The presenter went in the cupboard under the stairs, and the door banged behind them, and that's where the program ended, with a little spooky laugh. It freaked me out, but it served to wake up something in me that had been long dead.
Yeah.
And it came back so massively and so powerfully that I couldn't handle it. I was seeing things and hearing things, and it absolutely was. And the best advice I had was from my drama teacher, Brian Cobley. I know you're probably listening. He turned around to me and he said, "Nick," and I'd had 6 months off in my GCSE first year because I'd had this breakdown. And when I came back, he said, "Nick, the only thing to fear is fear itself," in exactly that voice. I'll never forget it. And I just looked at him really, really blankly. And he said, "Get yourself down the library and read up about it." Because we didn't have Google, you know, we were still 2 years away from having the Archimedes art computers back then. So I went to the library and I read up, and I found that the story that they were telling in this house was based on some reality, but not in the dramatized and horrific way that it was. So I learned, I understood, which put me in a position to be able to join the Spiritualist Church when it moved to Littleport with Lynn and Kathy. They moved to Littleport. I was on the sport, believe it or not, I was on the sports centre committee as a barman, not as an athlete. The committee said, "You're into all this weird and wonderful stuff. Go and keep an eye on them, make sure they don't do anything they shouldn't." So I went along and I never left. You know, I kept going and then developed with Lynn as a medium and learned to make tea, because the first week they asked me to make tea and it was absolute rubbish. I still get criticisms to this day. So, you know, and that's really where it all kicked off, just by having a really rubbish teenage life.
Everyone has a unique journey, and
absolutely.
The amount of different guests that Paul and myself have on this show that we've created after all these months, it's always comes down to an awakening within someone's, whether it's trauma or whatever. There seems to be a shift when the person doesn't actually realize it until after the event, and then they go with it, and it's an immediate, if not creative change from all levels. But going on from that, with Doreen's question, how did you become spiritual? I think you've answered some of that, but overall, that's a much more deeper question.
Well, yeah, I mean, how deep do you want to go? Because the question would be, am I actually spiritual? You know, there are so many different levels to that question. It is a wonderful question. Do I consider myself to be spiritual? Absolutely. Would others consider me to be spiritual? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on the level. But I suppose for me, there's always when it comes to any kind of faith or practice or following, there's always a defining moment, a defining feeling, a defining emotion. And for me, it was always my granddad telling me about certain things and having conversations. We used to sit and debate about stuff all the time. And he'd ask me questions like, how long is a piece of string? Twice as long as it is from one end to the middle. How far can you walk into a forest? Only halfway, because from halfway you're walking out of it. And he used to make me think of things in a different way.
Yeah.
And he then posed the ultimate question to me, which was not which came first, the chicken or the egg. Interestingly enough, scientists in America did try that out. They sent an egg and a chicken through Royal Mail. The egg arrived first. But when it comes to the ultimate question, it was asked by, it's kind of like an urban legend, I suppose, but he asked it to me. He says, if God created everything and there was nothing before God created everything, what was he standing on when he created it? I was 8 years old and I was being posed with philosophical questions like that. Both my dad, my granddad, they both self-proclaimed, self-taught. You know, my granddad had his dictionaries. My dad had the University of Life, but they posed questions to me that made me really think. And I was thinking about really big philosophical questions. As a child, you know, we'd get round granddad's on a Thursday. He'd just have the radio times. We'd spend an hour trying to figure out which the 9-letter word of the track word was. And then we'd talk about the world of spirit, the universe, creation, the stars. And so my interest and my understanding, I suppose, of spirituality came from that. And because of the love and compassion that I had with them, it kind of stuck. Right. And, you know, I always credit my parents and my grandparents with my upbringing and why I feel like I do about things and why I behave the way I do about things, you know, about treating people equally and with respect and with kindness and compassion. And I suppose that kind of is part of the rest of the spectrum of the question. But I always credit my grandfather with being a huge influence on my spiritual journey.
Well, that is lovely. Goes into the next actual question here from Zoe Toombs. What's your favourite part of being able to work with spirit in general? I would say on that one.
There are so many. From that moment you see someone having an influence, from healing, from someone getting a message. But I think the best part for me is when someone walks in to a church, whether I'm the medium or not, and they've got this look on their face. You'll have seen it 1,000 times, this blank stone empty look, because they want to believe, but they don't truly believe, or they're unsure, or they're open. And they walk in and they sit down, and suddenly the medium will come to them and they will give them something absolutely, unequivocally, uncontrovertibly true.
Yeah.
Uncatchable by Facebook or Twitter, uncatchable by friends or family. It came from that individual and that individual only. And the look on their face when that happens is amazing. But what's even better is that open, light look of relief in their eyes as they leave. And that to me is the best part of working with spirit. It's seeing that it has an impact, seeing that it can help, seeing that it can be a benefit, whether I'm the medium, whether I'm at my own church, or whether I'm watching someone online. Absolutely. Seeing that reaction, and that reaction alone, and knowing from whence it came, is absolute.
be the most smallest thing, can't it? And it can be the biggest impact on someone, and it is life changing, isn't it? It's not just a general entertaining point of view. It goes beyond that. It's soul level, isn't it? Really, for them.
Absolutely.
Okay, so one here again from the lovely Carol Phillips. How did you find it? Well, this is a big one. How did you find it helping support the Ukrainian people? It must have been heartbreaking. How would you advise sensitive people like myself and me as well, to keep energy high with such sadness in this world at the moment, especially?
Well, I will answer that in 3 parts. How did I find it? It was so humbling. There was a group. I actually used to go drinking with this guy who is part owner of a business, and I've known him years. He is part owner of Corker's Crisps. People may have heard of it. I used to know him when I was selling potatoes as a teenager, and we've been friends ever since. His organization did a huge collection in our local area. They got like 3 different building points, and they were collecting, and everyone was like, at the church was like, let's do something. So, okay, let's make an appeal. Anybody who wants to donate stuff, donate it. And it was stage 1 stunning. The response we got from members, from people who weren't even part of the church, that would come down and drop stuff off, and one particular couple, they had connections to an organization that had unused, still in packaging, still with the label on, fleeces and hoodies and tracky bottoms and hats, the whole Megillah. And they had the conversation with the people who owned them. They weren't going to be used again. They donated 2 carloads, 2 of my carloads, to the appeal. And when we took it over, I was feeling a little bit naughty. I was feeling a little bit proud of what we'd achieved, because it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then I walked into this basically potato factory that, storage for crisps and everything. And my God, literally my God, it was the piles, the boxes, the mounds, the people that were there working through it, the people that had been there since 8 that morning and just literally had a cup of tea and had been brought a cup of soup or something. And, everyone that was involved was just so humbling, and it brought me down to earth with a bump. And don't get me wrong, I was proud of our church for what we did, but seeing what everyone had come together and done, that's the answer to part 3. How do we keep our spirits up? Because no matter how big a problem in the world, no matter who the cause of that problem is, I still always will, and never be convinced otherwise, believe that there are more good people in the world, that there are more stronger, decent, kind, loving, generous people in the world than there are people that are wanting to cause us harm and difficulty and trouble. Now, the only problem with that is that they can sometimes be a silent majority.
Yeah.
In normal times, especially, the good are a silent majority.
Yeah. That's the thing. You don't hear it on the news, do you? Bad news sells, doesn't it? Not very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. But when it's still not 9 o'clock. So when it hits the fan, the silent majority find its voice every single time. People stand, people be counted, people defend, people fight, people speak up, people sing, shout, scream, save, help, aid, collect, sort. People are inherently in their hearts good. And in that 7 to 8 billion people that are currently residing on this planet, the majority are good. And that is why good will always win, because evil... My great uncle, my grandfather's brother, he used to sit there and say, "Be careful, because the world's full of evil." And he might have had a point, but the point that I truly believe is that evil can never win. Darkness can never win, because darkness and evil is an absence.
Yeah.
It is a void. It is a nothing. Light, good, hope, compassion is the thing that fills that void, that is substance. It is an item. It is tangible. It's feelable, touchable, and it will always fill that absence and that void. An absence can never win so long as there is something to fill it. Absolutely. And there will always be more good in the world. So take that, as much as it might not feel like it sometimes. The world has been down this road many times before. We are still here. We are still standing tall. And the best part of it, we still remember those that did it.
Amen to that, Nick. Cheers to that. So Sharon Shear, question for you, Nick. Have you got your sensitivity from parents, grandparents?
Well, my mum would say that she is the most unpsychic, unmediumistic person she's ever met. However, she has had some wondrous visitations from a certain young man that I could never dream of. And, you know, it's absolutely wonderful that she's experienced those things. It's been a great strength and support to her. It's been a great strength and support to me. However, having said that, there does appear to have been a historical family trait. On mum's side, my great aunt, she was a Salvation Army sergeant, so you wouldn't have expected her to have believed in all of this sort of thing. Yeah. And yet the stories she told, the things that she experienced herself, absolutely stunning. And then on the other side of the family, on dad's side of the family, it is purported, and I know that at least half of what I'm about to say is true. They always said that my great-grandfather was a Romany prince. So I am descended from Romany gypsies and all that comes with it. So there was definitely a lot of that. And in actual fact, one of the first spirit people I ever met was my great-grandmother, Annie Elizabeth Brown. I used to sit talking to her when I was a kid in my nan's living room when everyone else was, you know, busy and doing stuff. We used to sit in the corner talking. There's just one small problem with that. She died 6 months before I was born.
Okay, but you would have known that, would you, when you've been young?
No, I wouldn't have known that. I was her 147th living descendant, because there was no such thing as TV in the Fens. But yeah, I was her 147th descendant had she have been around another 6 months.
Wow, that's fantastic. So yeah, that's how it all started in that respect. So from this point of view, so Carol, back in again with another question for you, Nick. And do they give your loved ones, when, of course, I suppose when connecting with spirit, favorite songs or hymns, and if so, do you sing them too? That's quite unique.
Yes, it's not so much hymns, although there is one particular hymn that always brings the connection to our Len Willoughby. Len Willoughby was a wonderful guy. He used to sit right there every single week in the hall. He used to sing "Grant Us Thy Peace," 2 verses behind everyone. It was more like 2 or 3 words, but he would always sing that 2 or 3 words behind. The first message I ever got from him, from spirit through a medium, was, "I'm granting you your peace twice." Now, nobody could have known that we used to sit there having a giggle at the fact that the song would supposed to be, "Grant us thy peace, thy peace, thy peace." But it was, "Grant us thy peace, grant us thy peace, O God of peace, O God of peace." And it was like an echo. And it always ended, "Thy peace, thy peace, peace. And it always stuck in my head as being something. And now whenever I hear that, I turn around and he stood behind me. It always comes to it.
Yeah.
But with certain members of the family, for example, it's not necessarily hymns, but actual songs that are connected with it. I mean, Dad, he is Mr. Blue Sky all the time. There is one that was mine and his, that I called mine and his, that was really quite emotional. I still to this date have not been able to listen to it. But Blue Skies, yes. Whenever I'm having now, let's say about listen to the radio and get a message from music from spirit.
Yeah.
Whenever I am having a bad day, either Mr. Blue Skies or the Shoop Shoop song will come on. Mr. Blue Skies, frequently. And it's always when I'm thinking about them as well. Funnily enough, I'll be working in the because I have no control over what plays over the radio at work.
Yeah.
And I'll be sitting there and somebody will say something that will wind me up, and then all of a sudden, dun, 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 and there's like, here he is, and Mr. Blue Skies comes along, and then there is another one, the Shoop Shoop song. My old friend Stuart, he passed when he was 31. He was a very good friend of mine, and he was the first person in my social group to find out about my sexuality. Bear in mind, this was around about 1999, so it was a very different world in which we live now. Always very cautious and very shy about people knowing. And the Shoop song was playing, and he turned round, and the verse comes up, "Is it the way he acts?"
Oh.
And he just stared at me, and he says, "I've got a problem with you."
Right.
And I said, "Oh, have you now?" And I said, "And what problem's that?" He says, "Two things, really. Number one, how can you think I would have a problem with you? And number two, you're not that good at keeping secrets, because everybody knows." And that became our song. And even now, when I'm feeling a little bit sad, a little bit lonely, a little bit depressed, suddenly the Shoop song will come on, and once again I look round and they're stood there taking the mick mostly.
Well, okay, so that once again, you know, it's all to do with that sensitive and personal kind of respect, and
Absolutely, and it is that interpersonal thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a big bit of whether it's a question writing or something here from Effie. God was always there in the infinite mind. I think that means
In the
he always was and always will be. He was selfless and created us so he can experience through as he is pure in intellect. Yeah, I can read. And of course, it's her belief there. Believe in a duality of a mother stroke father God. That's a lot of
well, I will say that I never actually said what my thoughts on that question were and what I'd concluded and what I continue to evolve as my conclusion. But I'm not that far different. In actual fact, anyone who's heard me saying any prayers, it's always Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God.
Yeah.
Do I see Spirit, the Great Spirit, as an elderly gentleman sitting on a cloud with a long beard, meting out justice? No, absolutely not. It is energy. It is essence. It is thought. And this is the thing. When I was first developing, I wrote a piece, because Lynn was the editor of Psychic News, so I wrote a piece and it got published. That's the only reason. Heavily edited, I will say. She corrected an awful lot of spellings. I did put her through a lot of grief with that. She published it. It was 2001, A Spiritual Odyssey.
Right.
In other words, a play on 2010 Space Odyssey. And I stole a couple of lines from the Bible and then went with it. I thought, obviously, Spirit were helping. In the beginning, there was a word. was it a word or was it a thought? If there is a word, there needs to be a thought behind it. In order for a
Yeah,
thought to be behind it, there needs to be language. So there needs to be words.
yeah,
So which came first, the word or the thought? And it was a thought, and it was this sense of loneliness. Imagine you are the only thing in existence that covers everything, that is everywhere and is everything, but has no physical presence, no compacted area to experience and understand itself. And it was lonely and wanted to understand itself. So it created the physical world, because let's face it, if it's going to break itself down, even those little pieces are going to have, in the words of the genie from Aladdin, phenomenal cosmic power. In order for that to be safe, you need a teeny weeny living space. In other words, the physical body. It needs limiting, it needs restricting, it needs to be finite.
yeah.
Not only to keep the universe from blowing up, but in order to understand what it is to be an individual. So the whole jigsaw puzzle, once again, I won't roll over that. I've already done it once. People can press rewind afterwards. But it's that jigsaw puzzle thing again, where the universe was lonely. It was an infinite presence. But the point is, we humans cannot understand what infinity really is. We use the figure of 8, but that's just repetition. We use the big circle of the serpent eating his tail. Once again, repetition. We cannot fathom infinity, which is why my granddad gave me how long is a piece of string? Twice as long as it is from one end to the middle. How big is infinity? Twice as long as it is from one end to the middle.
And once again, everything does come back in a circular format. In relation to when we start something, that comes back to that. The education was in the experience of what we didn't know before it started. So that is once again spirit in general. So for a question again from Carol Phillips, how does your mediumship messages, Nick, and spirit come through to you? Of course, the clairs, which I'm sure you'll go through, like I usually go through with people. What ones do you use, really?
How do I? Well, this is when I first started, it was clairaudience and clairsentience. It's still a combination of the two for the most part, but I ended up going along the line of the fourth, probably because Gordon realized that I was lazy, and that's claircognizance, clear knowing.
Right.
Because for those that have never heard it before, the clair means clear. And then your voyance is vision, and audience is hearing, and sentience is feeling, cognizance, knowing. So it's this clear knowing. I literally link in, let them take over, and I open my gob and things come out. Now, I've spent my whole life doing that, so no wonder they would use that ability to help me work for spirit. As I start building that up, then the others start to circle around it. It's like the wagons going around the desert. So I will start talking absolute drivel and rubbish between messages, and then it tie in with the message itself, the person that's coming through. And then I will just start speaking and I will describe. And then suddenly, as I start describing, they walk around in front of me and I can see, obviously not physically, but in my mind's eye, I see them stand there and I can then describe them. They come and stand beside me and I can give the height, and then they stand in my auric field and I start feeling how they felt.
Is that subjective or objectively, or both in that respect?
Bit of both. I'm if nothing, if not eclectic. And the actually the day can influence how I'm working. If I've had a really, really long day, spirit will take pity on me and make it as easy as possible for me. So they will go very non-subjectively. But if they want to make me earn that, then they start making me work and really work for it. But I have to earn the easy days when I've had a bad day. But it's a combination really of everything. Sometimes I will see symbols, and sometimes I will see shapes. Sometimes I will see literal words. I mean, the best thing about giving a date is that they've got this calendar just over here in the corner of my eye, and it's like, flick the pages and there's the number, flick the months and there's the month, flick the year and there's the year. And occasionally, very occasionally, they will show me a picture and a road, and I can actually give a road name, which is fun, really, really fun. So they'll show me a road as a symbol, and then they'll give me a picture, and I've got to work for it and say, well, what is that picture? So, say for example, I know. Okay, thank you. So. I'm sitting here and I am looking at my can of Lynx. Other air fresheners are available. And the word that I'm drawn to is salts. So there may be either a name of an individual or a road that has salt in it. So I know, for example, around here there's Salter's Load. But it's how they give me that information. I will be drawn to, that's when they're being very helpful. I will be drawn to things in the room to actually help me. It's like, it will just start glowing and stand out.
Right.
And then sometimes if I'm really struggling, they will give me patterns in the wood on the floor, and the pattern in the wood will change into a shape and a picture as well.
You use everything around you to help you within that.
Absolutely. I'm, the Great Spirit and myself have got one thing in common: we love to recycle, and making use of everything around me to help me with my mediumship gives me that sense of never resting on my laurels, especially, but never resting and thinking, okay, this is how I work now, because it never works like that. So yeah, they will use everything.
So in relation to explaining the unique or multiple unique ways of how spirit allow themselves to work with you, and giving messages, are you happy to give messages tonight to people that are listening in on this show?
Why not? That's a wonderful tie-in, dear. Well done. Yes. Cheersington.
I think I've got enough water to get through tonight. It's been a busy week.
I've got another one just in case. I'm being good though these days. I'm on caffeine free.
Oh, okay. Is that sugar free as well?
As well, yes. Yes. Very good.
I'm sure people are going to get excited. I'm sure the numbers may pop up tonight, knowing that messages are coming. There's been a few weeks where we haven't done that, as we've been pretty busy, and it's been very informative. So yeah, definitely. Paul's put something saying awesome there, so he's happy about that. Yeah, awesome, good stuff. So yeah, we'll get some readings going. 58 minutes and 22 seconds have gone already.
I know, scary, isn't it?
When talking about anything to do with spiritual kind of information, the time flies by. So are you happy to do this, Nick? To do what, a couple like that?
Yeah, why not? Let's do a couple. Yeah. Right, now the thing I remember saying, obviously, earlier on, is that everything that I talk about just before I'm about to connect and give a message for spirit is usually random, really, really weird, but it ends being really, really pertinent. And I'm being made very much aware of my description of how I'm constantly looking round at everything. And, I'm very inquisitive, and I get information from everything, because information suddenly becomes a sponge, and I can see things in everything, and I can see these particular peculiarities in everything, and take an interest, and always noticing something new. That is the description of the person that is coming through. Somebody who was extremely inquisitive, someone who had a thirst and a passion for knowledge, who didn't miss a blooming trick. So 1 minute to go till so I still caught it. They tried to catch me, but this person would not miss a trick. You would think that they had hard of hearing, then when you're in the other room and talking about them, I can hear you, and all that sort of stuff. This real inquisitive and knowing absolutely everything. This person, because they haven't come forward close enough to get but they'll give me that in a second. This person also, thank you, didn't like the heat.
Oh,
They, you know, how most people say, you know, the older you get, the colder you get. So, you know, they like to wrap up warm and have that heating on full blast. This was not the case. The window was always open. It was always freeze gutting cold, because they really, really could not stand any sort of heat. I'm feeling this thank you. See you later. This gentleman would have been a father figure. Who, once again, as I said, full of beans, full of vivaciousness, full of vitality, and full of inquisitiveness, and would literally, you know, it's like, because I was struggling to read that from over there, and I had to take my glasses off. But you know, this gentleman, he could see a hair on the carpet. What's that doing down there? It didn't miss a trick, this gentleman, and it is a father figure, and also didn't like the heat, wanted the curtains and the windows open all the time. Can any one of your viewers accept this father figure coming through with this description?
If any of our viewers can understand any messages tonight, whether it's being given via Nick from Spirit or via myself, please do make us know or aware that you can take this or understand this information coming through. If you can, just simple yeses and nos. But if there is an understanding that with poignant understanding that you can take this, please don't hesitate to let us know. Brian, straight away, look at that for you, Nick. Yeah.
Hello, Brian. Right, with this gentleman, I'm also going to say that there was a lot of compassion, but equally, I feel a lot of frustration with this gentleman, as though, even though he was full of this vivaciousness and he's full of these beans, there were times that you would look at him and see a lot of regret in his eyes. He tried to cover it up, but I feel with this gentleman, he had regrets. He would claim he did not have regrets. And, you never give up on it, never regret anything. But there was definitely a lot of regret. And I also feel that there is a female involved quite centrally in this feeling of regret. It's a regret of loss, of not saying the right thing, something like that. There is so much regret that he buried because he wanted to keep everybody spirits high. And literally, that is the words that he just gave me: spirits high. With this gentleman, and obviously, thank you. I see you've responded. You're very quick with the responses. I like that because it keeps me going. But yeah, he's referring to that and how he always did not want people to regret anything. But he understands that regret happens. And he understands from his own personal experience that there is such a thing as regret. He was also very forward at being backward, in the sense that I was wrong. I was wrong to tell you to never regret anything, because regret is what drives you forward. And he's saying you've had regrets in your life that have driven you forward and to make a change in your life, to make changes. And he's saying, you know, I didn't do wrong, and I wasn't completely wrong, but it wasn't the best advice I could have given anyone, especially in comparison to all of the other advice that he would have given you in his life.
Okay, Brian Lynch, if you want to click on the link and come into the studio, that'd be great, to be able to continue with the message. If you don't want to, that's fine, but we'll continue with the message anyway. That's fine.
Yeah. It's quite funny really because he's scooched up beside me and he's a bit of an elbow prodder. He's like, come on, get on with it. So he was Brian does want to come on, and he will be on, I'm sure. Whilst he's sorting that up, I'll continue talking to his dad.
Just click on the link and you'll come into the studio. And
that one there.
That one.
Magic. Is it magic? Is it Paul? It sounds like the healing's working because he's still with us. Oh, look, there you go. You're sharing it as well. Isn't that magic? But this gentleman that's coming through, I'll keep talking to him whilst we're waiting because it just keeps things flowing. And let's face it. Thank you for that reminder. I usually say something before I start working, but I didn't tonight. And he's reminded me. Let's face it, everyone's nosy. They want to know what's going on.
Hopefully, Brian will come in. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to make it. Okay, he will make his best effort, and his best effort is usually enough. So he's obviously very proud of that Brian puts in. Although I do get the feeling that he wasn't the kind of person to say that with words, but it was seen in expressions. It was felt in emotion, even though it wasn't physically said audibly. Oh, can you tell me again where I need to click?
Just click on the link, Brian, the link that's in the comments that we put up.
You might have to copy and paste it, or you might have to, if you drag your mouse over or click your finger over the HTTP StreamYard bit, so that it's all highlighted, and then there's usually an option that says go to, and it will take you straight in a web page to it. Sorry to take over there. Gobby, what's it? I am, I did warn you I was a gobby, what's it? Right, yes. If it's an iPhone, you might have to give it permission with Chrome and everything, but if it's not, you're all good because StreamYard gets on very, very well with Android. Bye, Karen. Lovely to see you again.
Thanks, Karen, and thanks, Denise, as well.
Oh, Denise is. Oh, bye, Denise. Right. I'll carry on chatting with this gentleman just while we're. I do love the whole technology side of it. It is the fact that you can connect with people all over the place is absolutely brilliant. And this is still part of the message for some reason. Okay. Denise was just saying goodbye. She hasn't left us. She's still here.
Oh, she's still here. Sorry, Denise. I said bye.
She was being polite. No, manners. Thank you. Manners cost nothing. Yes, we know that one. It's lovely because he was a very patient man in his own way. Oh, thank you, Brian. That's very kind of you. He was mostly a patient man. He would have found this sort of thing very funny. The whole he's saying, you're much more technically minded than it is. He wouldn't have even have made the effort of trying because he knew that he wouldn't have done it. And yet you have this feeling in your heart that he would have been extremely Silver Surfer and really, really good at it because he did put himself down an awful lot. And his biggest concern at the moment is you putting yourself down. Whatever it is that's going around with you at the moment. Thank you. And I believe there's something to do with 3, so either 3 people or 3 months or 3 weeks, but definitely a 3 involved in this situation around you at the moment. I want to say people. You don't have enough faith in yourself, and you are far more able to deal with things than you give yourself credit for, just like you would have said about me. So there we are.
There we go. I feel it's my turn now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said have Pepsi.
thanks ever so much. Trying to get in on that there, Brian, with the links. Shame it didn't work, but I hope you can take all that information, and by your comments, it looks like that Spirit have worked well for you tonight. So that's really good. So yeah, thanks very much to you as well, Brian. Okay, so same thing. We're going to go for it. See where we go this time. So. Okay, I've got a gentleman that's been made aware to my awareness, but as he comes in, I do feel he was a very hard-working man, but still is in spirit, so that's interesting. At the same time, I do feel this gentleman is working quite he's working very hard in spirit to help the individual. I feel like this gentleman wants to talk to a lady that's listening in tonight. I do feel this man was a man's man. I do feel he was quite a hard-working man, and when I say hard-working man, I do feel this gentleman would have worked outside. I don't feel he was an office worker of that kind of description, but I do feel he was whether he was to do with construction or to do with building or something to do with working with his hands, and I do feel this man used to smoke as well. I can smell tobacco and that, whether it was rollies or whether it was just general cigarettes from that were made up, so you don't have to make them up in that respect. But I do feel this gentleman shows himself to me at the moment as a younger man. Why show yourself as an older man in theory, but he's showing himself as a younger man. I do feel as he presents himself to me, he's not in like a shirt or tie or anything like that like I'm wearing, but jeans, t-shirt, that kind of man. I don't feel that I want to dress up a lot in a spivicating way, as they should say. But I do feel this man is very a man's man. I feel he's a family man as well, and he's telling me that his family means the world to him. He wears his heart on his sleeve, but I'm a man's man, but I have got a soft side as well, and he doesn't, and he's not shy in letting me know that as well. Carol, my dad worked outside too and smoked. Okay, can you understand then, Carol? This gentleman would have worked with his hands. I know you said worked outside. Now, whether this is to do with construction or that kind of thing, yeah, definitely had a soft inside. Yeah, I mean, he's like two people, Carol. If this lovely man is working for you, it's like two people. So I don't know whether he was a Gemini, whether he's referring to his that kind of sense as a or literally like two people, because it feels like when I'm around certain people, I really show my soft side. I really show that I'm not feminine side, but just a real soft character. Like, and I feel this man would have given gifts to family members. It doesn't have to be Christmas. It doesn't have to be birthday. It doesn't have to be an anniversary. I just want to spend money, and I want to give gifts. I want to give presents to people that I really, really love. This man's heart is big as well. He had a heart of gold, and he was. Sorry, that comment just went there. I just want to quickly read that.
Coal man.
Oh, right. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. He didn't seem, without being horrible, he didn't seem a clean man. I've got dirt on me. I've got dust, things like that. So absolutely fine. And for some reason, I want to give him some soap, a bar of soap or something. And absolutely fine. Yes, he did love everyone, Carol. I'm glad that we're working with you. No one else has come up and said that this connection is for them. So definitely working with you, Carol. Also, can you understand more than I don't feel this man was an only child, Carol. I feel that he either is like one of two or one of three. And I do feel that he's got, yes, he would do anything for anyone. Absolutely. Can you understand, Carol, that this gentleman was not an only child? It makes me feel that I want to talk about the brothers, the sisters. I wouldn't be surprised if he got one of each, a brother and a sister. But it does make me feel that it's not a small family that he's connected to, that he wishes to make me aware of, that there is quite a selection of people. I do feel that Christmas is a big thing around you, Carol, as well, that I want to put the works on, like food-wise. There's a turkey there. It's massive. Stuffing, sprouts, vegetables, gravy, everything, the works. We had a big, okay, so it's a bit smaller than what it was, but he's really going on about Christmas now. I want to pull the cracker as well. I want to get the little toy out as well and give you that as well. Just don't shoot the messenger. Okay. Oh, right. There was 10 of us. Well, it wasn't a small family if there was 10. And can you understand Christmas? He's just really banging on about Christmas, this man as well. And also, Carol, I'm getting drawn to London with this man as well, whether he lived there, whether he was from there, or whether he worked around that area as well. He's given me Big Ben as well. I can hear the bong on the hour as well. And I'm getting drawn around that area as well of around the city as well. What's this one? Oh, sorry, Paul, I'm taking over it. And Christmas was fun. Oh, it definitely was fun with all that. Not sure about London. I can't take that away. I'm getting it. I'm giving it to you. So maybe you may need to chat some family members there, but he's just talking about London. There's an understanding about London there as well. And also, can you understand the wedding as well? He's given me 2 rings, not 1 ring, 2 rings. I feel like I want to join them. It's interesting. But he always loved Big Ben at New Year. Okay, that's specific about Big Ben. I'll take that. I can't take anything else. Can you also understand, Carol, about this lovely understanding about 2 rings coming together? Yeah, it's interesting that we mentioned like infinity and a circle earlier, Nick, because he's using that concept. And it always amazes me, even now, that Spirit are listening to our thoughts or understanding with what's going on. Okay, yes, you're saying you've been married twice. There's 2 rings representing 2. That's not me trying to make it fit, but there's an understanding about evidence for everyone else, not especially you, Carol, as well, in that respect. And can you understand not the white wedding dress? He's telling me, not the white wedding dress. Can you understand that when you got married, there was a color of your dress that wasn't white, like pale blue or pink or something? Because he's saying it's not white. And I have my mum's wedding ring. Okay, that's absolutely fine. And I feel one of these rings, if not one, if not both, has got an engraving on it. So whether there's like a hallmark or an engraving on the inside of the ring rather than on the outside, because it makes me aware of a ring without jewels or coloured stones in them as well. Oh, okay. What was that one? Sorry, I keep taking over from you, Paul. My flowers were blue. Can you understand the dress, though? There's a connection with a different color, not a white dress. So if it was a white dress, there's something else with respect to clothing that's got a connection with the wedding that's not white. Yes, Oh, you've got that now. Okay, good. Brilliant. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Just going to give me something in respect to the color, please, Carol, because I can't get away from white. Oh, brilliant. Thank you ever so much. The dress was cream. Well, it's not white. That's me being colorblind, so that is true. I'm not making that one up. Okay, so can you understand birds? He's also... Oh, what's that? Okay, good evening to you, Sam. Can you understand a connection with birds as well? Yes. Oh, brilliant. The bridesmaids were blue. Okay, so that's where the blue is. I knew it was to do with clothing, not like... I know you mentioned the flowers, that's fine, but it wasn't in with respect to that. It was to do with something else that he's making me aware of. And also, can you understand the birds as well? I know you mentioned that. Can you like parrots or budgies or something like that? Because he's talking about birds. He's putting a cage around either 1 or 2 birds. He loves birds. Okay, and if respect to that, can you understand the aviary as well? Because he's talking about loads of birds now, not just one. So I don't know if this was... I know you said he loves birds, but there's an understanding why he loves them. So whether it's in a cage or they were pets, or he just had like an amazing love for them. We get on. I love birds too, and that there's an understanding in that respect. So just wanting to just get that comment on that piece of information before we move on. I know we mentioned smoking as well, but it gives me the impression from that he's stopped and started, intermittent of smoking as well. Saying hello to you there, Nick, as well. Oh, what's that one? Oh, my father-in-law keeps pigeons. Oh, brilliant. Okay, that's absolutely fine. And can you... Oh, okay, that's interesting. You can understand also the pigeons. He's saying one escaped or some escaped, and then one came back or something. And you thought that you lost it, but it came home because it knew its way home or something. He's saying he did indeed. Okay. That's probably from the previous message. Always a bit of a delay on StreamYard as well. But can you understand the pigeon that went away and came back, or got lost or something, or in that respect? It's a bit strange piece of connection there. I hope you can understand that one as well. Just waiting for that answer as well. Yes, I got the blame for the bird. Okay, what was the blame for, Carol? I'm allowed to ask one question. Did you take it away and threw it away or something, or ran off with it? Okay, absolutely fine. So you would understand that the birds as well. I just feel this is I'm really proud of you as well, Carol. So I don't know, can you understand that you've changed? I don't know if it's to do with changing your work, or you're thinking about changing it, or something to do with a course that you're about to embark, or you're thinking about going on a course or something. Because there's a real, this man is talking at 100 miles an hour, Carol. He just wants to get as much out of it because he knows it's a short period of time before Nick comes back with another message for someone. I let them out. Oh, you let them out. You naughty girl, Carol, letting the birds out. Okay, that's fine. You've changed a lot, have you? Okay, in respect to you. Hopefully that's with respect to your work as well. Brilliant, excellent, fantastic. Thanks ever so much, Carol, for letting me and of course Spirit working with you tonight. Lovely man, and thanks ever so much for working with me. Over to you, Nick.
Hello, wonderful, well done, mate. Love that, especially the letting the birds out. You can't have any secrets when it comes to Spirit. Brilliant. Well, let's see who's about. Right, okay. Obviously, when I have a bit of a moment between readings, I'm able to actually have a bit of a link and do it properly rather than the shortcutting that Spirit use with me normally. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
So I'm made aware of this lady coming through. Instantly, I get gender. It's great when I work properly. I'm aware of this lady coming through. I would say that, thank you. She was a little bit fuller around than I am. And of course, we all know I'm as slender as anything. But a little bit fuller around the waist as me. And I can feel my head being pulled by the tightness of my hair. When she was getting dolled up, in a word of a lie, she could slip a pen in her hair and it would stay there because it was literally the strength of her perm. I can feel my head tightening, and people would comment, "Oh, she's had her Botox again," or something like that, because it would literally pull her forehead up. I'm also made up. Thank you. I'm made aware that that's strange. This lady was very sensitive to strong smells. I'm talking perfume as well as anything else. Although she is saying there were other things that caused her, but for some reason this lady was very sensitive to smells, which is something I've never actually given before, I don't think. Thank you. As a condition of passing, I'm feeling a buzzing in my chest, which is usually when I'm working with Spirit, their way of saying, "I'll give you the area, but not the detail because it's none of your business." So they will just give me a general area rather. So I'm feeling around the chest. I have to say, I can feel my voice starting to go a little bit. So I do feel that there would have been a connection there, either with her just generally losing her voice, but I feel that it was to do with this condition of passing as well. Ooh, lovely, bless your heart. She was also very, very, I don't know whether she suffered from vertigo or high blood pressure, but the room is spinning. It feels great sometimes, but the room is really, really spinning with this lady, bless her heart. And I'm struggling with the relationship because I don't feel that she showed her emotions extremely well, and I usually tend to get the relationship by how I feel about the person that I'm connecting with. When she first came, literally, she came bombing in. She's like, "Right, it's about time we had a woman here to sort things out." So I do feel she was very powerful. Sharon, would you understand that Mum was very powerful, determined, slightly opinionated, but not in a really negative way. She was a doer. She was a get done. And it's like, get the men out the way, then we can get on with things. Thank you, darling. But also this condition of passing with this lady. Can you understand that with Mum, Sharon? Bless you, my love. Right. There are links available if you want to come on and say hello.
So Sharon,
you
if you don't mind coming in, Sharon, click on the link. Hopefully we can get at least one person in the studio before the show ends tonight. So yeah, give it a go if you
hey, come on in and say hi. Yeah, this lady is the kind of lady I like. You know, I like working with ladies like this. Someone who knew what they want, knew what they were about, knew who they were. She's just a force of nature. But she's not as patient as the gentleman that I had earlier. So be careful. She's like, I feel she would have had a tiny watch. You know how you can get these watches that are like really, really tiny and dainty, almost like there's the face was on a strap rather than a strap was on the face. And you're just sitting there. Well, if she's going to come on, she needs to get a move on. Come on, dear. So she's really like, come on then, hurry up. So I do feel that this lady wasn't the most patient person in the world. But she's getting a little bit closer now as well, because I do feel that I'm getting. Oh, thank you, Blade. Palpitations now, and I don't know whether that is her emotions showing through or whether that was connected to passing. I want to say that she actually, because of her youth, held back more emotion than she actually had. No, that's not right. I've worded that wrong. Sorry. Cool, blimey! Don't you misquote me. Copy and paste it, my lovely, from one of the comments in the thing. If you all the way from the HTTP, all the way to the 8N, and then right click and go, or copy and paste it into a browser. But yeah, she doesn't like being misquoted, this lady, at all. Because I got that analogy slightly wrong. Bless her heart. So she doesn't like being misquoted. Let's give Sharon a second to see if she can come on. Oh.
In the comments. Definitely in the comments, Sharon.
Double click on the link. Oh, you can double click it if it's a phone. There you go. Well done, Sean.
Yeah, thanks for that. Try clicking on the
duck picture. Well, that's a good point. Is there a on Facebook? Bless her. But sorry. Okay. She's yeah, I love your tech talk. I love your tech talk. I still want to go back to this blood pressure and this. You're all right, my love. Would you understand this blood pressure, this palpitations, this frustration, and this feeling that she had emotions that she just couldn't show? She couldn't bring herself to show from her youth. The way she was brought up, she had a lot more emotions than she let on. Thank you.
It won't let me in.
No worries. We'll carry on like this because we've got We got a few minutes left, and I want to make sure that she gets her message across. Otherwise, I'm stuck with her all night, and I'm going to be in big trouble. And you would understand that that is part of her personality as well. That she's getting very impatient with me because it's my fault that you can't get on. So, because thank you. Now I understand why you said that. Butter wouldn't melt. You were the golden-eyed girl. You were the star. You were the one that melted everyone's hearts. And she's still so very, very proud of everything you do. And it's almost as though this feeling of, even though you know that you could do no wrong by her, you still question her every single day. Would she be okay with this? Would she be okay with that? Because you didn't get away with murder. Don't get me wrong. You would have got a slap her on the knuckles if you'd done something wrong. But there was always this element of, there's always a reason. There's always a reason. And you really are, like I said, the blue-eyed girl. And she's very much aware of you constantly asking for her approval. What she wants to say is, of course, you have her approval, but she also brought you up to have courage, confidence, conviction, and stand by your choices. And she reminds you of that, as to say that so long as you do that, you will always have her approval. I'm also very much aware that there is a gentleman around you at the moment that you're frustrated with, for whatever reason. I don't feel it's a negative reason. It's just that you're frustrated by the lack of something. Anyway, there is a lacking that is frustrating with you, whether it's asking for help or doing something, I don't know, but there is a gentleman around you that is causing frustration at the moment. And she's saying, well, that's just, you know what right, thank you. She says, you know what I had to deal with, and you know how I felt half the time, but he will always work it out in the end, just like mine did. And I see, oh, yeah, sorry, the conversation between me and her, I wasn't even looking for an answer then. And that's how this lady behaved. She would absorb you. You would become part. You would literally get, if you got locked in her eye line, that's it. There was no escaping. She had you. She had this really hard stare, but this smile that would melt iron. And such a huge amount of passion, compassion, and love from this lady, willing you on with this courage and this confidence and this strength, and not to worry, most and foremost, because you're my daughter, I was your mother, and we women in our family are the strongest parts of the machine. So we will always get our own way. And it's that's her personality once again shining through. I do have to give you thank you, an anniversary of either passing. Oh, hello, Linda Ray's sister. I didn't realise. Completely different names, you see. No connection there at all. Well, you can ask Linda. She's one of the reasons why I'm getting myself in so much trouble. But I digress. I now understand. There's a 7th of the second. Oh, 7th. Thank you. So I want to go around the beginning of February, around about the 7th of the 2nd, as what I'm getting. So it's either the 7th of February or the 2nd of July, but I'm pretty sure it's the February date. And I also, what was that? Yes, the Klein. There's a Klein as a name, so it could either be a person's name or once again a street name. I can never guess which, because I'm not getting the road or the person standing behind it. I'm just getting the word Klein in connection. So if you can take that, the date's important. Okay. She says, if I am going to give you any grief, just remember that I can see how much washing and ironing you don't get through. I don't know whether you can accept that. Oh, Carol, Thank you. That's a bit of a stretch for me, but if you want to take it, that's great. But it's Klein. Klein. No, I can't accept Caroline. It's Klein, as in the underpants. Okay. As in Calvin. Please tell me that it's not Calvin. Would you know a Calvin or a Colvin? But I'm going towards this Klein. And no, I'm not looking at a pair of boxer shorts hanging up on my wall somewhere to get inspiration for that. Oh, right, lovely. Okay, thank you. I'll take that. And yes, this ironing, get on with it. All right, she says, I will be watching, but I will be watching with my face on if you do not. And with that, I don't feel Caroline fits. I'm sure that's the "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
I don't feel that the Caroline is the connection with that. Let me go back and find out what's going on here. Ah, of course, Calvin Klein do fragrances. They do men's and women's, don't they? I don't buy that sort of stuff, but like you see, I'm cheap. But the Calvin Klein do the squirties. Oh, hello. Do the squirties and stuff. I remember. She's reminding me now. I remember that I said right at the beginning. There's these smells that really get up her nose, and she said nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. So, if someone's wearing a Calvin Klein squirty in your family, she's having a go at them, basically. I don't know whether you could understand that part. I put her to sleep.
Oh, there we go.
Right. Well, you can tell your son that his grandmother doesn't like his aftershave. I'm glad we managed to identify where the Klein comes in now. Thank you for that. I knew it wasn't Caroline. I weren't going to have that, and she weren't either, because she's a stubborn old what's it. And you can tell him that I like Calvin Klein. So I've never worn it myself. I don't wear it myself, but I like the smell. So if he wants to carry on wearing it, she doesn't have charge of him. But it was just her way of letting you know that she's around and sniffing. And with that, I'll give you all of her love, and don't worry about hubby. All will be well, because you will be well. And I'll say God bless you.
Thanks ever so much, Nick. And I'm sure all the viewers enjoyed those readings, and I know I did, and I enjoyed listening to you as well, connecting there. Last things before we go, is there any chance you could pick a name off the list for the free reading?
Yes, let me infuse the spirit. Scroll and scroll and scroll. I'm not going to pick a name myself. I'm going to let spirit choose it. I'm going to use the roller on the mouse and wiggle the mouse there. And there we have Zoe Coombs. Zoe Toombs, sorry.
Oh, Zoe.
Yeah. So Zoe Toombs.
Congratulations, Zoe. And either Paul or myself, I think it's your turn, isn't it, mate? Or is it mine? You might want to put a little banner on the screen saying whether it's mine or your go. And that would be absolutely fine. So congratulations there, Zoe. Thanks ever so much, Nick, for coming on again after all this time. And
no, thank you for having me back. In actual fact, I'm reminded, because they mentioned earlier on that I was a gobby what's it. Last time I was on, I got so carried away, you two didn't even get a chance to give a message. So it was actually nice to see you work on the same platform as well. So, because I never got to see work last time because I was too gobby.
Oh, right. Well, I'm glad I've given you an opportunity to see it then.
Well, people wanted to know how I felt. I've progressed. I've mellowed. I've mellowed.
As people can understand after listening to you tonight, Nick, you've got, you talk a lot, but at the end of the day, you've got a lot of information there that's very, very interesting. It was the same roughly a year ago when you came on before. But
Yeah,
thanks
thank
ever so
you.
much for coming on again. Tune in, everyone, next week again, Wednesday at 8 o'clock, normal time, normal day. We've got another lovely guest coming on. Hopefully, Paul will be back to join me in the studio again. Thanks ever so much, Nick. Thanks, everyone. And look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.
God bless.
Take care.